Live from New York, it's the show that ignored your text on purpose. It's First Things First.
Are you buying the Jets' faith in Zach Wilson?
No, I'm not buying it at all. And, you know, this show's called a lot of things. Romantic is not typically one of them, but we've had a bit of a romantic flair lately. You just used a relationship analogy. Brew yesterday had an odd cheating on your spouse
true.
Analogy.
It was just hypothetical. My gosh.
And no, but so in that vein, I'm going to do my best, you know, walk down the same path.
Okay.
The New York Jets got publicly ugly divorced. And with their not even long time wife, but with their spouse. In the midst of it, they were trashing her to all their friends. Like, it's a disaster. Before it was even final, they started dating other people.
Oh, yeah.
As soon as it was final, they got in a different, serious relationship. Told everyone about it being the greatest thing that ever happened to them. Showed up in the vows section of the New York Times when they got engaged. Did all of that. And then on wedding day, that person didn't show up.
Julia Roberts.
And they walked out of the church and called the ex and said, let's get back together. And now I will be the one friend that instead of like, yeah, man, always liked her. I'm going to be the one that says, hey, man, she's not good for you. You weren't happy with her. This isn't going to work. The Jets last year tried Flacco, tried White, tried Strevler.
They love Strevler.
Did everything they could. They traded for a guy that was 90% retired, giving up a first-round pick this year in a swap that ended up costing them a tackle that maybe they could have used. A little heady move of the Patriots there. Future draft picks, $100 million of guarantees, all of it. And now they want us to believe, no, we'll be fine. We're good with Zach. They don't believe that. And you know how I know that? They told us that. And Robert Saleh also told us that Monday night when he saw Aaron Rodgers sitting on the field and they showed him. He did not look like a man that's like, well, luckily we kept Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
he looked at it like, Jesus Christ, we kept Zach Wilson. So no, I don't buy that they have faith in Zach Wilson.
That was a nice analogy.
Thank you, bro.
That was almost as good as the ones I threw out. The dating ones that I threw out. But anyway, look, okay, obviously they do not believe in him to the degree they're saying.
No.
It's coach speak. What's he supposed to say? I mean, y'all saw him last year. I mean, look, we hope he's better, but we're in trouble. No, he's got to talk him up. But I will say this, Nick. I think they believe they can get by with him.
Then they're crazy.
I think they think get by. I think they're looking at it like, okay, we'll dumb down the playbook. All right. We do think he's a little better just for being around Aaron. Aaron showed some confidence in him, some faith in him.
Right.
You know, he's a little better than he was. We know he's not very good, but we think we can get by. Dumb down the playbook. We can run the ball. You can talk about our offensive line not pass blocking, but we ran the ball well, so we can run the ball. Our defense is top of the line.
That's what it was last year.
We want to throw maybe 25 times a game.
A month.
If we can get Zach to just be efficient,
that doesn't exist.
Throw it to Garrett Wilson, right? Yeah. And we'll run the ball. So I think that's their thought process. And here's what it is. I think they're feeling like, look, if I'm them, I'm calling Carson Wentz's agent. Hold on. I'm calling Nick Foles' agent. And I'm saying, get your boys ready. Just have them throwing the football. We're not bringing them in yet. We may not bring them in, but have them ready. Go out there and throw the football around with them, okay?
The agent has to?
Yeah, him or a friend, somebody. And you give Zach, I mean, if it gets disastrous, it's going to be disastrous.
It's going to be disastrous in 4 days.
But this is just one game. This is Dallas. But I think they want to, let's see if we can get to the bye week, all right? And maybe be 3-3.
They weren't going to be 3-3.
They got Dallas, they're going to lose.
Yeah.
New England, winnable. I'm not saying they're going to win, but possibly winnable.
Because those games
Kansas
were close
City,
last year.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Kansas City, they're going to lose. Denver, winnable.
Sure.
And then Philly, you lose. So if they can get to the bye week 3-3, maybe they'll be like, okay, we might be able to get by. If it's disastrous from here to the bye week, now you're bringing in one of those guys I talked about.
Okay, so before I even give my opinion, you said something at the beginning that I want to know if you agree with this thought process, because I've heard this from a lot of people. The idea that Zach Wilson will have improved via osmosis from being around Aaron Rodgers. And I get, it's like, well, Jordan Love.
Right.
That was 3 years. This was 10 weeks. Does hold on, I'm just asking.
Yeah, all right.
Does it,
I got it.
Because I do not think there is any reason to believe that Zach Wilson is improved by proxy of Aaron Rodgers when their football relationship started in June and ended in September.
Look, I obviously the more time he had around Rodgers, the better. But I do believe, look, if you're a football quarterback, then you do pick up things relatively quickly. And I get it, he hadn't been great yet. But yes, being in the QB room with Rodgers, watching how Rodgers does everything every day in practice, having Aaron talk to you about your drop backs, what you're seeing, what you're looking for. I do think that it will definitely help him. Now, I don't know to what degree, but I definitely think it'll help him to some degree.
How much do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to be around? Well, it's not like when, I'm trying to think, Durant hurts his Achilles, he goes to the
But
Nets.
you got to be careful out there on the sidelines, too.
Well, yeah. I mean,
you think it's like a danger?
Well, during the right after the surgery,
you can't be right up.
Right. I mean,
in the booth? Can you go in the booth?
I think it's more during the week and stuff. He said he's still going to be around the team, and I guess I just don't think the Jets were spending a lot of time, and Aaron was spending a lot of time on Zach. I think, yes, Zach was around.
But don't you think, I mean, just watching.
Maybe.
Watching one of the all-time greats.
But, I mean,
and he's clearly been humbled. Well, it's helped his attitude.
Yeah, sure, it's helped his attitude. But Wildes, before we move on, just because you said something yesterday that it was interesting, because I agree with it. I think a lot of people think it, but I think you were the first person that flatly said it, which is the Jets have essentially screwed around with their quarterback situation before Aaron even got there in a way that demonstrates they don't know what they're doing. You felt badly for Zach Wilson last year before Aaron was even a part of it because you thought they were breaking whatever chance he had of being a good player.
Yes, I felt like they should have always just taken their medicine and gone the Trevor Lawrence route. Gone the Mac Jones route, like
last year, not this year.
You're our guy, warts and all. We're not quite ready to win, but all of a sudden the defense got so good, they felt like they needed to microwave the quarterback position and to get Aaron Rodgers. But now they're back to square one.
So you don't think they even should have went for Rodgers?
No, I think they should have gone for Rodgers.
He's saying last year going back.
But once they got deactivated,
and all those guys,
I also think he was put in a brutal spot. And the canary in the coal mine for me was still bringing in Joe Flacco, who was supposed to be the backup. And Joe Flacco's first press conference, he's like, I'm here to compete for the starting job. He's like, look, hey, buddy, this was we just took the second pick in the draft on Zach Wilson. And next thing you know, Flacco wins that game. Everyone's going crazy. Guys start showing up on the away games with Mike White T-shirts.
That's the part
I'd be like, hey, who's got the Mike White T-shirts?
Right.
Not cool. Just wear your normal clothes.
But in those guys' defense, and the reason, because people, I think, thought yesterday that maybe I was a little harsh in my commentary on Zach Wilson. Here's the reality. His first year in the league, he was dead last in the NFL in completion percentage, dead last, and dead last in passer rating. Last year, he was dead last in the NFL in completion percentage and dead last in passer rating. So the sample we have of him as a pro is dead last both years in two critical categories. Then you add to it that he was a kind of shocking number 2 overall pick. He's not a guy that had this unbelievable pedigree. He's not a guy that was on, and I'm not trying to talk about Trevor, but like on everyone's radar forever.
I like Mac Jones, national champion.
No, even Mac Jones. At least Mac Jones is an Alabama national champion. And Zach was almost out of nowhere. And he had the pro day that did the Mahomes throw, and all of a sudden he's the number 2 pick of the draft. It never profiled out, and he has never looked the part.
And you talked about this with Trevor. His first year, you kind of got to throw it out. And even, let's be honest, with Mac last year, you got a defensive coordinator. Well, Zach hasn't had a good opportunity. That was one of the worst offensive lines in the league last year. Obviously, you had Garrett Wilson, but the first year you didn't have.
That's all true, but he doesn't have. If you go through the game log and be like, what's the best Zach Wilson game? The best one that I could find was one where he threw for 150, no picks, and a couple touchdowns. Like it's not even with Trevor, Mack, any of these guys, whether they made it or didn't.
Justin Fields has had a few moments.
Moments where you're like, oh, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Jets have seen it either, which is why they were wearing Mike White T-shirts.
That preseason run was nice.
Okay.
He had a nice run in the preseason.
Right. Yeah.
That was pretty good. Let's check in on some new reporting. This is from Diana Rossini. The Jets have made it clear in the last 24 hours that Zach Wilson is their starter. I'm told this is their plan headed into Dallas and beyond per multiple sources. While they have looked at every option on the table, the team believes Wilson is their best choices.
Yeah.
So, Brew?
You have to trade for a guy. You have to. If you want, I don't think they're dead.
There's no one good.
Brew or
if you could get Matt Stafford,
I'm talking about someone's backup.
Like
I'm talking about
Brissett,
Cooper Rush, Jacoby Brissett, Jameis Winston would be my first 3 calls. I think you could get Minshew, Trubisky, or Davis Mills for next to nothing.
Minshew was just in there. It was just in the game to win the game.
I also think it warrants mentioning, at least to a degree, the Jets. The only silver lining of the Rodgers injury is they have more draft capital than they thought they would. They thought they weren't going to have a first-round pick next year. They are now. So now if you have to trade a 5th-round pick, you're still plus a little more draft capital than you thought. If the Jets' defense is as good as they looked Monday, and if Breece Hall continues on this trajectory with the 20th best quarterbacking in football, they might be able to make the playoffs.
Can I ask you a question? Yeah. To what end?
What do you mean to what?
What's the point?
Well, you want to make the playoffs.
Oh, congratulations.
They're not going to be bad enough to be at the top of the draft.
Yeah, I mean,
spend more draft capital, get a mediocre quarterback, a jobless mediocre quarterback, get in there, maybe sneak into the playoffs, don't win a game.
So you're saying play Zach. See what
what you got.
It's not a bad idea. And I'll say this. Let's assume Zach's the guy.
Then they have no path.
There's a path. I obviously said yesterday they're not making the playoffs. I don't think they will, but a path?
No path.
There's a path.
I don't.
It's filled with thorns and thistles and ditches and landmines and all that, but there is a path.
What's the path?
What is it?
Well, I just told you
10-7?
The defense. You got a strong run game, and you limit his throws. You dumb down the playbook, and there are examples in history of this.
The worst quarterback in the league?
Well, Dusty and I did some digging.
Oh.
Rex Grossman, remember this? Yeah. 2006, Chicago Bears go 13-3. Now look at the numbers, almost exactly the same.
You got to adjust for inflation, and you know it. 06 passing numbers to 2023 passing numbers.
Fair. And in fairness, the NFC, when Grossman and the Bears got through it, wasn't as tough. Donovan McNabb in Philly, he got hurt 10 games into the season. So I'm with you. I'm just saying this is the path for success. I don't think it'll come to fruition. I do think with Zach Wilson, honestly, I think they could go 8-9.
Wow. I
think they could go 8-9.
7 wins.
If they're smart. They got 7 last year with the worst quarterback player in the league.
Correct. They got 7 wins. By the way, Zach didn't play in all of them.
Better.
Their highest scoring game or second highest scoring game of the year was the Flacco game in week 2. So if they have a path, Wildes, I think it only involves acquiring another quarterback because the Grossman point's a good one, Brew. And those numbers, you're right, they are.
It was defense, it was run game.
100%. And Peanut Tillman punching the ball out, all of it. I agree with you there. And that team made it. Was that the Super Bowl team?
They lost
all the way to the Super Bowl? The distinction that I would draw is, and I don't obviously have the 06 quarterback rankings committed to memory. I don't think that I don't think Grossman was the worst quarterback in the league that year. We have no reason to believe
that was
Zach
his best year.
would be anything other than the worst quarterback in the league. And you said something, Wildes, there that I just fundamentally disagree with in the NFL, which is for what to make the playoffs. When you have a young team, when you have a coach and an organization that's trying to install a culture, I don't look at it like the NBA, like, if you're going to be the 8 seed, might as well tank. I think building something is important, and the Jets being able to find a way into the postseason would be important.
And they're not going to be horrible.
Guys.
They're not going to, like Arizona or something, they're not going to be that.
Okay.
Kyler's an interesting one. Your guy
Kyler's now that's interesting.
But I don't think they have the
All
cap
that
space
money?
and all that, and Aaron would have to actually retire. But that is an interesting one. Kyler, if they really want to tank and the whole thing, if he's healthy.
He's better than Zach.
Well,
That's
yeah,
for darn sure.
Yeah.
Jets at Cowboys Sunday afternoon.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Dak's going to do what Josh Allen refused to, which is recognize I don't have to be Superman. I don't even have to be Clark Kent. I can be the paper boy as long as I'm not as long as I'm not breaking windows.
You think Dak will do that?
Yeah, I do. I think that this is going to be a game that the Cowboys win with defense. They don't turn the ball over. And I think, actually, if I'm a Jets fan, if I could pick any team to play this week, I'd pick Dallas. Because I think the only chance they have is to turn the page from Zach Wilson as quickly as possible. And Dallas is the team most likely to make you do it.
Yeah, but everybody's going to say it was Dallas. Like, who knows how many times a young man will get sacked?
Okay, but
they sacked Daniel Jones 7 times.
Here's the thing, but this is where Zach Wilson loses faith and loses jobs. It's not in sacks. He actually can avoid a sack or two, and then will run 12 yards backwards in the wrong direction, throw across his body, and Trayvon Diggs take it to the house. And I think that the Jets are going to have a really hard time talking themselves into the idea that they can move forward with Zach after this game.
I will say what I'm interested in seeing, and the path opens up after this week.
Yeah.
All right, not this week.
Bruce said even before 1-1 through 2 weeks.
I will say this. I'm interested to see Dak against that defense because Dak didn't have to do much last week.
Yeah,
It didn't look great with what he did do, but this is going to be interesting. I don't think it won't be as bad as last week. I don't think, because I don't think Dallas will be able to run on that, destroy that defense like they did the Giants. And that's who I'm looking at. We know what the Jets. Yeah, how does he do against this defense?
Can I show you a quick graphic?
Yeah.
This is their path. Dak gives them the game.
Yeah, it's the only
You
game.
think he won't?
You don't think he will, but this is games with two or more turnovers since 22. Matt Ryan is out of the league. Josh Allen has stormed to the front after his most recent performance. And there's Dak. And I know it's like
And
Dak
Nick's
won't have
Geno.
to. Yes.
So
On a green
it's a
screen.
quarterback that Bruce given up on in Geno, a quarterback that Bruce says could win back-to-back Super Bowls, not be elite, a retired quarterback, and one of Bruce's many MVPs.
Just quickly, I am not convinced on a big stage that Dak is going to be like, yeah, I'm cool with throwing for 140 yards again, as long as we're 2-0.
No, I
think that's weird.
He might want to
Franchise
come
quarterback.
out. He knows that whatever little negative talk there was about last week, it was him, right? It was, Dak didn't look great. All right, he might come out and try to shine.
And then, next thing you know, Sauce gets one.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.